Hi, welcome to Lois Wagner Fine Arts. We're having a joint exhibition from 19th, 20th century American art to contemporary American art. We have a large selection of paintings going from 1895 up to the present day. And I would like to introduce you to our wonderful internationally known watercolorist, Timothy Clark.
Hi, Lois, thank you. It's an honor to give this presentation today. I call it a presentation instead of art history because we hope it's going to be exciting. Everybody has these masks, or almost everybody has these masks right now. They're a sign of our times, but there's a lot of signs of our times. Right up here, there's a painting by Louise Cox, who was the spouse of Kenyon Cox. This was all part of a structured American art history, American direction in art, and it was called really an academic movement. And the academies did such a great job of training people that they began to look alike, and some of the personal diversity changed. And, I mean, the personal diversity disappeared. It didn't even change. It just became part of good training. A little bit of that's going on today. But if we look at this piece, there's an artist named Robert Henry. And Robert Henry, we'll give you a good look at this piece. And Henry began to get followers. He was a leader, and he felt that Americans should be much more expressive. And so he took the language of what's called the Barbizon school, and he mixed it with American subject matter, and he got other people to do this all in their own way. They became known as the Eight, or the Ashcan School. That's Robert Henry, John Sloan, George Lux, Everett Shinn, Ernest Lawson. Thank you. I knew that though. Arthur B. Davies, Maurice Prendergast, and I think I got them all. Maybe Glackens, William Glackens. Yes. And Glackens was known. They just said they're all different. Glackens. Here's a little look at one. Ernest Lawson really kind of followed. He was really the precursor of what we might call urban landscape painting. Every one of them was a little different. There's a social consciousness that we see in John Sloan. Here's a John Sloan right here in Lois's gallery. This is the great history of American art. It's called Bonfire, and they were demonstrating.
No, illustrators.
Well, they were also illustrators and demonstrators, because he was at Union Square. They were trying to make sure that everybody got a fair shake. John Sloan, at one point during World War II, was the director of the Art Students League, and he went out of his way to do the right thing. Doing the right thing was part of Henry's whole philosophy. He believed that if you followed your heart and did the right thing always. John Sloan got jobs for Jewish artists in Germany, and he saved their lives by getting them into America. It was really, and he's a tremendous person and a tremendous artist. So all of those eight, every one of them, Lois has sold their paintings over the last 25, 30 years. She sold them to museums, to major collections, and personal collections. People who just wanted one of these pieces. They're minor pieces, major pieces, all of that's gone through. All right, so we're kicking back to Robert Henry because we're keeping this under a theme. He opened the doors for people to leave the rigid academic program and be much more expressive in many, many ways. So he had students that came to him from all over the country. George Bellows gave up a professional baseball contract to study painting with Henry, and he became a major, powerful person in the art world until he died at an untimely young age. People like Edward Hopper, Guy Pendabois. We'll look at all of these people, and prints and paintings from all of these people have come through this intimate gallery in New York. It's one we may be across the street from the Frick, but there's a quiet, warm, home-like condition of collecting and talking art that Lois built into here. One of the things that's important is that we take a look here at Priscilla Roberts, and she worked in magical realism. This couldn't have happened in 1890. It does happen in the 1950s. People like Andrew Wyeth were part of this major exhibition dealing with magical realism. There's another woman whose name is Jane Peterson, and Jane's painting is this little still life goes back to the 30s or 40s, and Jane was one of the early women members of the National Academy. She broke ground, and so art by interesting, innovative, individual men and women all come through this gallery. It's really kind of exciting. I'm honored to be part of it today. Lois has one of my places of worship, the interiors. This is the
Central Synagogue.
Central Synagogue right here on Lexington.
Lexington.
Right. And I sat in there and drew, and I thought someone was going to throw me out. She came over and she said, "Can I talk to you for a second?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Can I bring you a glass of water?" She was the kindest person any place I ever drew and painted. And this follows a sensibility of Moorish revival architecture, and it burnt, and they rebuilt it perfectly according to the architecture. Lois, what were you going to say?
It was modeled after the synagogue in Budapest.
Oh, interesting. Good. In another part of New York City, here is one of the lions on in front of the library on Fifth Avenue. And what I always loved what LaGuardia said about them. He said that people, because there's one on each side of the stairway, it's do you remember the names of them?
Patience and
Fortitude. Right. And they guard both sides of the stairs up. And LaGuardia said that people climb the stairs and read between the lions.
They're wearing masks now.
The lions are wearing
masks.
masks? Good. All right. Let's walk through the gallery here and look at a couple more pieces. Continuing down American painting timeline, we have the abstract expressionist beginning to really take place. Same time we get magical realism, we have the abstract expressionists flinging and throwing paint and doing all kinds of things. And while they're flinging paint, we have other people taping edges and getting very, very geometric in their color schemes and patterns. And some of this even merges into pop art. This is op art. And it gets to the point where Museum of Modern Art has an exhibition of people who are doing pieces that are just one color next to the other in celebration.
He was a member of the American Abstract Artists.
John Farren. And when they had the exhibition at Museum of Modern Art, they had all of these op art pieces, and they had gone even into fashion and clothing. There were women that showed up wearing dresses that had the same patterns as you saw on the wall. People were excited. It was an exciting time, and Lois covers some of that within the collection that she shares with you here. As we wander through to one of her other gallery rooms, oh, there's another Clark here. This is the, it was a painting that we named Nessun Dorma because nobody's sleeping. The lights are on in these little buildings and dawn is beginning to come. And also when I painted it, my CD was stuck on Nessun Dorma. So it was a perfect title for it. If we look at this piece, Lois is going to talk about this for just a minute because this follows the Henry.
He was in Lee Jackson. This is the 1940s, probably during the war, and it's called Jitterbuggy in Central Park. Right. He certainly followed Henry in painting the average person outside the average person enjoying themselves, not a socialite portrait.
Right. It has a little bit of Everett Shin look
Yes.
of almost performance and drama and
Right.
theater, and you've sold plenty of Shins over the years,
Yes.
haven't you? And if we turn around and we look over here, we see an early Guy Pendabois, which is following what's going on in Europe. It shows his
Yes,
training.
it's Manet. I mean, if you look at the dark tones of it,
Right.
he was a young student at that time.
But
It's called Paris Model.
Paris law, but he changes once he gets under Henry's
Yes.
influence,
Yes.
and it's exciting to see it's really a timeline of American painting. Here's even American Impressionism that we see. That Lois
Alan
is-
Tucker. That's Alan Tucker.
What year is that?
Upstate New York. You know, I don't believe it was dated. I don't think it was dated.
Well, but it shows this purples and greens which is the color, the symbol of hope, which we could all use about this time.
Yes.
And so we not only get a chance to look at painting, but we see that it's all framework under the great American creativity, and it's a good visit with Lois, and we'll be careful. You be careful and love art, and let the healing of art be an important part for you at this time.